Good morning, friends, and to fellow Hindus, namaste, namaskaram, vanakkam, namo namaha. Have you ever seen a sunrise? You can have fun with this one. And maybe somebody hasn't, probably a sunset. But you can comically say, no, you've never seen a sunrise because it doesn't rise. This is what Hindus call the concept of Maya, the appearances of life, the temporary illusions, if you will. So let's look today at something that hopefully everybody does at least once in their life. Go to the beach early in the morning and wait for the quote-unquote sunrise. And I'll get a little personal this morning because I've just loved the sunrise. Ushatkala, Hindus call it, the dawn. Actually, I grew up near the beach. And many of us have a great connection to the oceans of the world. And just stop and consider that for 9 months in our mother's womb, we were little fish in the amniotic fluid, the salt water. I always like to joke to many that actually I was at the beach before I was born. My mother used to sit on the beach, and I was in her womb at that time. So let's all just take a moment, no matter how old we are, and just think of that. We were all these little fetuses in the womb, and then we came out as innocent children. So one of the great wisdoms in life is to keep that youthful, loving, and hopefully a warrior spirit as we go through life, no matter what the physical age. So we can learn a lot from Bhumi Mata, Mother Earth. And remember, that is our home planet. And even though we don't always take care of her, and I think as humans we have to recognize honestly that we're the biggest polluters of all. The other animals, they did very well without us for many millions of years, and they could do well without us now. We are, in a sense, a creature that's not geared too much to be in Mother Earth. It's very difficult to do. Any of you have spent time, like the classic yogis in Hinduism, spent time in Mother Nature. It's not easy to just go off and live in Mother Nature. She's a stern taskmaster. Sometimes beautiful and blissful, sometimes violent with extreme weather conditions. But we're here on planet Earth, and we're interestingly here because of the alignment of three. The Earth, Bhumi Mata, the Sun, Hindus call Surya, associated with Vishnu also, the Mother with Bhumi Mata, and then Chandra, the Moon, associated with Shiva. Here you have the three sampradayas of Hinduism: Saivism, Vaishnavism, Shaktiism. But there's a profound lesson to go to the beach at sunrise. Sunset is fine too, but it's much more active generally. One thing you'll notice when you go to the beach at sunrise is you'll be pretty much alone. Not many people go there. They like to be there in the middle of the day. Obviously, we like to show off perhaps. But at the early morning sunrise, you won't see that many. And those that you do see will generally be in a mindset of being sweet and gentle. So let's go to the beach. Get up early. Maybe you're by yourself, maybe you're with friends. And let's learn about what we could call a universal religious experience and then a very specific religious experience. This is something to always keep in mind. Always respect generalities and specifics, which we'll learn here more about. For example, right off the bat, devotion is a universal experience. Secular life, religious life, doesn't matter. Being devoted to anything or anyone is significant. However, if we do, for example, puja, that's specifically Hindu devotions. Mass would be specifically Christian and specifically Catholic devotions. So let's go to the beach. So we sit there in the sand, maybe cross-legged, perhaps by yourself or with others. And the sun has yet to appear, so to speak. It's dark out. We have a sloka in Hinduism, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, lead me from darkness to enlightenment. So as we sit there, looking off across the horizon, perhaps on a glassy morning, no wind. And you know, the beach is so profound because all of the elements are very dramatically on display there. The earth, the water, later the fire when the sun comes up. The air is rich with salt air. And it induces a sense of peace or calmness in many people, especially in the early hours and the late evening hours. So we sit there and we notice that at first the sun is a red dot. The bindi of the Hindus, the mark of a Hindu. Puram Bindu Vajri Purushtuttaha, ancient Bindu Hindu soulful warrior. And what is it to be a Hindu? Hindu Samudra Idiyarti Vayu Bhir. Fellow Hindus, Hindu, doesn't matter if you use the H or not. Grab a hold, Idiyarti, with the support of your breath, Bahir. Vayu. Grab a hold of the cosmic ocean, Samudra within. Hindu Samudra Idiyarti Vayu Bhir. And you'll notice that as the sun, quote-unquote, rises, it sure looks like that, doesn't it? See the illusions of life? We can't tell that we're actually moving. There'll be a point when the red sun is half above the horizon. This is the perfect Shiva Lingam, the male and the female coming together, the sun and the water, the male, the female. By itself, it's the Shiva Lingam, the absolute, the no-thingness, the eye of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, the eye of the breaking wave that surfers seek, the tube, if you will. So as we notice this red dot, it starts to become orange, and then it'll become yellow. These are the first three chakras, the primary color, red and orange and yellow, the spectrum of colors, if you will. So we'll notice that as the sun starts to leave the horizon, so to speak, it forms a beautiful path right up to you where you're sitting. This is analogous of a specific religious path. Maybe you're by yourself, maybe you're with others, and you're all on the same path. This would be indicative like the various paths up the mountain in our front cover of the Eternal Journey. So too, we find a specific religious path, and it's meaningful to us. It's light. It induces a sense of bliss, perhaps, energy. So the people around the world that are connected to their various religious spiritual paths, they're experiencing something. We have to respect that. And we join with others of a like mind. However, if we look down the beach, for example, at that time of day, we see that one path, but from where we sit, apparently those other people are not seeing anything. They're staring out over a blank ocean because the path at that point is directly in front of us. You see where this is going? That's the fundamentalist mindset when we think our path is the only path. Now, we may look down the beach and see others, and in our altruistic spirit, we want to bring them over to our path, and if we're a little more violent, we try to pull them over. See? History, conquests, crusades, etc. But what we have to do is get up, walk down the beach at that time of the day, and you'll find that that path follows you on your shoulder wherever you go. Because you're talking about a greater source here, Surya. And if you go and sit with those other people down the beach, you might be another country, another language. You'll find they too are experiencing these universal experiences of perhaps love and light and energy to be respected specifically. You want to respect those people, their country, their language, how they're communicating with each other. Here is where we can get a great understanding of religion, spirituality in general, and then respecting the specifics. Now, let's look at this from a Hindu perspective. So we go to the beach, and we're doing some work here. That's karma yoga, kri, to work. And there's a lot of similarities here. We take off our shoes. We always go barefoot in the Hindu mandir, in the Hindu home. And when you're on the beach, notice that you can't really tell one person from the other. You can't tell the banker from the carpenter. There's a universal understanding there of humanity. So we go, and if we're by ourselves or perhaps with a few others, we settle down in the sand, sitting cross-legged in Hatha Yogasana, one steady, comfortable pose. Remember, that's all Patanjali says, Sthira Sukham Asanam, one steady, comfortable pose. It was never meant to be an on-display exercise routine. Remember, as Svatmarama said, Hatha Vidya Bhaviri Yavate Guya Nivedatu Prakasha Varanam. This Hatha Yoga portion is powerful when you keep it secret and loses power when you display it, which is sadly what's happened today in the spurious yoga movement. So we settled down in the sand in Hatha Yoga Asana. And Hatha is a worship, really, of the sun and the moon, of Shiva and Vishnu. Hara, Hari. Hara, Shiva, Chandra, moon. Hari, Vishnu, Surya, sun. Devotional postures to a Hindu understanding of the world and to Hindu deities as well. And we're fully devoted, all of us, Bhakti Yoga. And remember, devotion is the secret ingredient of life. Without devotion, we won't be successful in anything that we do. So Bhakti Yoga, very important, but notice that this is the second yoga in Hinduism. And you can look at this in general. People all do ethical behavior, karma yoga, to the Hindus. People do devotion, Bhakti Yoga, to the Hindus. See the wisdom of generalities and specifics. But devotion is the secret ingredient of life. However, it must be predicated upon good karma or good ethics. Why? Because we could be devoted to the wrong thing, the wrong person for decades. It's interesting. People often say, oh, Swami, I've been doing yoga for 20 years. Well, if you've been doing it wrong, that's nothing to brag about. So as we sit there in full devotion, we may drift off into a deeper state of Raja Yoga, meditation, contemplation. Remember, meditation is an English word, and it simply means to concentrate. You can concentrate on anything. Using English, contemplation is the more appropriate word. If you're going to go into your spirit nature, if you will, which Hindus call Atma, Atma Darshana Paramodharma, contemplation, go within the temple, contemplum. So remember, the phrase yoga and meditation is very confused. As a Hindu, we would say we're doing Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga. If one is not a Hindu and they're teaching exercise classes, just say that. We're doing stretching exercises and meditation. That's fine. But combining yoga and meditation is very confused. So we will get an inner experience from doing this, doing the work, sitting comfortably, full devotion, full contemplation. We will get Gyan Yoga, an inner realization, a feeling perhaps of bliss, that everything's okay. May get insights. You may get an insight to a new podcast or video or poem. As we go from darkness to light, and we're talking about uncovering the inner light. Remember, as Hindus, we don't get something. This is very different than the monotheistic religions. We don't believe in God. God's a one male creator being, and that is really Christian in nature. We believe in the Atmana, the divine essence within that we don't get. We just uncover it. It's been covered up by things like greed, anger, lust. That's the Tripundra, the holy ash of Vibhuti, which is actually the third pada of the Yoga Sutras, the holy ash of Vibhuti that is covering up the Atmana, just like the sun may rise and get covered up with the clouds. And that's something to really think about, because as powerful as the sun is, so too are those clouds, very powerful. They can obscure the sun. It's there, but it's not there. And what are those clouds? Those clouds are greed, anger, lust, pride, delusion, fear, arrogance, egoism. Specifically the three. Lobha, krodha, kama. Greed, anger, lust, which is excessive desire. We have desires, that's fine, but not excessive desires. We need passion in life, for without passion we don't develop compassion. Just control them. So how do we control our lobha, krodha, kama, our greed, anger, lust? By dana, dayadvam, damyata. By giving, by compassion, and by control. So, Bhumi Mata, Sandhya, the connecting times of the day, sunrise and sunset, quote unquote. Very important to devout Hindus. Ushatkala, sacred time before sunrise. Wonderful times to do your sacred devotions in general or puja to the Hindus. And actually, I remember Kanyakumari at the very south of India and see yogis at low tide sit on the beach and form a little lingam and just wait for the tide to come in and wash it away. You're talking about hours upon hours upon hours. So take a moment out every day to, if you live in the city, it's not quite as easy, right? But you can get off on vacation whenever you can. Get off into a park, for example, into nature. And reflect and let Bhumi Mata teach you. It's our home planet, right? So go into nature and study her well. See the sun rise and watch the ocean swell. Let her teach you the secrets that she holds. They're the same for today as in days of old. And the way is love. And the way is love. Now see the golden path at sunrise it makes. It's there just for you, but the steps you must take. And realize that there's a pathway for all, and then there will be no trouble at all. And the way is light. And the way is light. Now close your eyes and be free from grief, knowing that goodness lies beneath. Then get up and spread your light all around, always listening to that holy sound. And the sound is Om. And the sound is Om. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Amrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Lead me from untruth to truth. Lead me from a humble recognition of my ignorance in many areas of life to a more enlightened state of being. And tap into that eternal Amritam, the inner nectar within all of us. And seek peace, but it must be a peace of strength, Vira, and justice, Dharma. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Jai Bhumi Mata.